It's curious, isn't it, the number of taxes that are out there. There are many of them, and when the Labour Party kept repeating this, which now turns out to be a bit of a lie, no tax on working people, unless you're a working person that owns a small business, then there's a lot of tax coming your way. But they talked national insurance, they talked VAT, they talked income tax, as if they're the only, this sort of tripod of taxation are the only things that can come and get you. And of course, there's dozens of others just waiting in the wings to be unleashed upon your purse so that you can be slightly more skint than you already are. And none more so than the old wicked council tax, poll tax as it once was back in the day, community charge as it went on to become council tax. Now, I get the idea that there's a local taxation that we all contribute to. Broadly speaking, if somebody said to you, 3 guesses as to what your council tax pays for. The first one, you'd go to someone to collect my bins, someone to keep the street lights on at night, and someone to fill the potholes. I think probably around about in that ballpark, I think, is where we would be. Beyond that, it becomes increasingly difficult to work out what it's for, particularly if you live in a community where stuff has closed, you know, whether it's the local swimming pool or the library, whatever it happens to be. You sort of do wonder, you think, well, hang on, it goes up, it literally goes up every year. I can't remember a year where it didn't go up. So you end up paying, I think mine's $2.20 a month or thereabouts. What's yours, Sam? Council tax, roughly. $2.20 a month is what I pay, and I understand, yeah, between 180 and 250 seems to be. There are some that are right up there as well, you know, and you think, well, they're not always in areas that you think, the areas that you think might be expensive. I mean, there was one point that Westminster, a fairly opulent borough of the capital city, I think had the cheapest council tax in the land, probably when it was Tory run by that Shirley woman, or whenever it was, back in the day. So it's always a bit of a mystery as to what it pays for. Now, the average family now faces an inflation busting, and that's key. Rise of more than 100 quid a year in April. The PM's press secretary said town halls would be told they could put up the levy by as much as 5% next year, 3 times the rate of inflation. So across England alone, the average Band D council tax bill stands at, there you go, £2,171. The government's decision means that local authorities will be able to increase that Band D by 109 quid next year for those in the most expensive Band H households. Last year's 4,342 bill will increase by £217. £4.5 grand a year for your council tax. I know you've got a bigger house, so you could argue, well, you can probably, not always, but probably afford a bit more. But you don't get any more for having a bigger house. You don't get better services because you've got a bigger house. You're using the same street lights, same bin men, same library, swimming pool, and access to whatever other thing. The odd park, I suppose, would come under that as well. What do you get for your money in council tax terms? And I'm bound to throw this in because I think it's always quite fun to investigate those great acts of wastage in council spending, you know, where the council has spent an extraordinary amount of money on something nobody asked for and nobody wanted. And the entire community, well, you just spent what? I think it was Ashford in Kent, where I used to live. They paved the high street back in the day. And I think they imported sort of Portuguese rock, which is a special kind of rock because it's Portuguese. And, you know, there's a Sandal Perkins down the road and a Homebase and a B&Q, got loads of paving slabs out the back. You know, when you go looking and then it's all in the garden bit, it's out the back. There's a little sort of lean-to that has all that stuff in. But they imported it at a massive cost, this is years ago, from Portugal for some curious reason that nobody could quite work out. And then there's the great sort of artwork ruse, isn't there? The council offices that have decided it would be quite nice instead of just getting, I don't know, the local primary school to make a collage, remember those, that you could stick in the reception. They decided to have a Picasso. And what's wrong with that? Well, it cost 1.8 million quid. That's what's wrong with that. But the council said it was an investment as well as a nice thing to have. And you've got all of these things, and you must have seen it in your own local area, where you just think they wasted money on that. I want your stories on that. I want your stories on council tax. It's a bit of a... It's not quite a hidden tax in the sense that, of course, we know it's there, but we don't really question it that much. And then suddenly you discover it's going to go up by another 100, 150 quid, 200 quid, depending on your band. And you do start to go, why is it doing that? What am I getting? In fact, when I look at my local authority, every time they put something in the local paper, it's about, the story is about, you know, getting less. We're going to have to close this, or this will close early, or we're going to reduce the hours, or, you know, the park won't be open at weekends like it used to be, and the kids' playground is not going to be rebuilt as we promised. Stuff like that. You don't often see something you go, wow, my council's brilliant. My council are amazing. They do some great stuff. Your responses on this, 0344 499 1000. Joining us to discuss this and a few of the other big stories of the day, Henry Hill, Deputy Editor at Conservative Home. Afternoon to you, Henry.
Good afternoon.
Council tax, always around about this time of year, of course, it always crops up as a debate. Today is no exception. Number 10 confirming that council tax bills will now go up by more than 100 quid. But, of course, don't worry, Rachel Reeves did promise that working people won't be affected by tax rises, which is curious, really. Let's just remind ourselves, Henry, of what she said.
I will not increase your national insurance. I will not increase your VAT, and I will not increase your income tax. Working people will not see higher taxes in their payslips as a result of the choices that I am making today. That is a promise made and a promise fulfilled.
Except it's not